all the time. Your gateway to the world. AFR. American Freedom Radio. Give it to them.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
All right. Good evening, everyone, and happy Tuesday. It is April 9, 2013. Hope you're having a wonderful day. I'm loving this springtime. I just feel so full of life, and hopefully you're feeling as energized and full of life as well. Good news. I think we've got our issues worked out, or maybe the hackers gave up or something cool like that. So hopefully we'll be able to do a fluid show again. I miss those days, but I want to thank you all again for, just hanging in there with us and supporting American Freedom Radio and all of the great hosts and producers that have been working so hard to get this, very diverse information out to everyone. So I thank you again for your support. Tonight, we are going to be joined by Shaman Avalon Sakti. She is a spiritual healer, a teacher, just a really adept, I would call her. A master shaman, has helped people, myself included, soul retrievals, past life regression. She also has online tuition where she teaches you how to do the work. Her website is sacredserpent.net, and tonight we're going to be talking about the stages of spiritual healing. And since it appears that our technical problems have been worked out, that means we have a caller line again tonight. Woohoo! So if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. And if you'd like to join us on the text chat, that's over at souljourneysradio.com. And I'm here in a wind tunnel, so that must mean we are joined by the lovely Sakti. Is that right?
Hello, Christie. Yes, that's right.
Woohoo! We did it! All right. Well, good to hear your voice, hon. How are you today?
Not bad, but I just had this most mysterious coughing and sneezing fit just before the show.
All right.
So I think there are some obstacles, but not so big.
Yeah. Well, it's either the Skype gremlins or the alien pong matches. I think it was the Masters tournament maybe the past couple weeks. But, so tonight it's just coughing. I think we can deal with that.
If that's all, I think we can deal with it. That's why my voice sounds a little bit funny. I apologize.
Oh, it sounds beautiful as always. Well, I'm excited to have you here tonight. Once again, her website is sacredserpent.net. And we're going to talk about the stages of spiritual healing because, I think that's a very important topic. A lot of us, we talk about, I want to be healed and, go through different methods or whatever we found online or whatever our friend or neighbor told us. But what they don't prepare us for is the stages that we may be experiencing, just as in physical health. Start juicing or taking supplements or whatever people do to start feeling better. They're not taught about the healing crisis or the detox phase. So we're going to cover all of that here, the spiritual detox phase.
Oh, yes.
All right. Well, let's
shall we begin?
Yeah, absolutely.
I would like to say the first thing, people talking about healing, don't forget healing is about becoming whole. So you cannot just heal one part of yourself and the rest of you stay sick. That's not really healing. Because that one part of you that has a problem is an expression of something wrong with the whole of you. And therefore, in order to fix the problem, you cannot just look at the leg or the arm or whatever is not okay, or the liver or the kidneys. You have to look at the whole of you. Or if you're feeling fragmented and you think you have soul loss, you think, okay, let's just get a soul retrieval done and then I'll be fine. No, that sounds good, and often it has miraculous results, but not always, because you need to do things in a certain order so that they make sense. Same as when you're baking a cake, you cannot just first bake the eggs and afterwards make the dough. That's just not going to work out.
Exactly.
And spiritual healing is a little bit like building a house. And again, you cannot start with a roof. You have to have a proper foundation or the whole thing is going to collapse. So you have to follow certain rules, but within the rules you've got plenty of freedom for your creativity and doing things your way. But still, the roof cannot be the first thing that goes up. That's the last thing.
Absolutely. A lot of us want to skip to that, right? It's just like, okay, just give me the results. I don't want to deal with the shadow. I don't want to deal with all the yucky, messy, emotional stuff. I don't want to, face any possible negative karma or admit that, I may have some victim patterns or martyr complex or limiting beliefs within me. Let's just go straight to the crown chakra. Poof, I'm healed.
And that's it. That's what most people want, because they want the enlightenment. But the enlightenment is the fruit that you get after a long journey. It isn't a thing you get at the beginning so that you can skip all the other hard work and unpleasant facing of issues that you'd rather not want to see.
Exactly. Like growing a garden. You don't just plant a tree and have fruit. It's a little nurturing.
Plant today, harvest tomorrow. That would be,
Sounds good to me.
So a lot of people come to me and want to have a soul retrieval, for example. And then you have people, they want to be empowered. And other people say, I have got entities, so what should we be doing first? The first thing in the first stage of spiritual healing is the clearing stage, where you get the negative things out of you. Mm-hmm. It's like, just think of it like washing your body before, if you want to go out and be elegant, you want to put on nice clothes, maybe makeup if you do that, and, adorn yourself and be very good looking. You do have to start with the shower and the washing. So the first stage spiritual healing is also clearing negativity, and there are various things that need to be taken care of before you can begin to empower yourself. If you empower yourself first, then it's no use. Let's say you gather some powers but you have entities. The entities are going to create negative situations, so you lose all the power again that you built up. So it's better to get rid of the entities first, because as I've already written on my entity page, for those of you who haven't seen it, go on my website, look under shamanism and then entities. Entities will try to keep you away from spirituality and anything that could help you to really, truly spiritually grow or empower yourself.
Okay, honey, and I know we've done shows, much extended shows talking about what to look for or to know if you do have entities, but maybe you can touch on just a couple of the symptoms that we may be experiencing so we know to look there.
Yes, well, some of the typical symptoms are bad luck.
Okay.
Pretty much. Some people can feel them, that they're actually moving around inside the body. Now that's really a tricky thing, because if you're going to your doctor and say, I feel something slithering around under my skin, and they will reserve a nice place for you in the loony bin.
Yeah, definitely.
Because they will think that you're having a mental disease, that you think you have parasites, And in a way you have some kind of parasite, because entities are astral parasites, but you better don't tell that to a doctor unless he has a shamanic background and he knows about these things. Definitely. So there can be a feeling like you feel something moving under your skin. But very few people actually are sensitive enough to feel that. Most people will just notice that their life isn't very good. They have a lot of bad luck. Lack of energy, fatigue is very typical, and then also health issues. But of course you can have health issues from many things and fatigue from many things. But the typical things with entities, the people are drained, nothing goes right. and they have a total lack of vitality. And for those who can see the aura, you find that the aura gets quite dark when people have entities.
Okay. All right. Well, that pretty much sums it up. Okay, so because I know that many of us, we want to think, oh, well, that wouldn't happen to me. You know, that's only something that's in the movies. I'm fine. I just need to exercise more or, you know, take an extra vitamin or something. But, yeah, we all, I mean, it's possible that all of us could have entities. So don't, you know, we got to get over ignoring that.
That's right, because about 99% of all people have some entities, unless you have done some really, really extensive spiritual work, and just going to a workshop is not going to kick out the entities. So we're talking about meditation or shamanic methods over years, and really intensive while also facing your issues. If you haven't faced all your issues yet, you still have entities. It's quite clear.
Okay.
And people who are taking drugs on a regular basis always have entities. So anybody listening who's a drug user, you can be sure you've got them. So the entities are like among the most important negative things that you need to clear, but they're not the only negative thing. But they are really the first step. What I do is I clear entities. Because there's no point empowering people or even doing a soul retrieval if the body is full of entities. Let's say if you have lost a piece of your soul and shaman brings it back, and the soul piece that's been retrieved, that previously was traumatized, that's why it left, comes back into this environment with the entities, it may just leave again immediately. So again, no point with the soul retrieval. Or even if it doesn't leave immediately again, if you still have the entities and they're creating so much bad luck and suffering in your life, one thing they also do is create negative emotions. Yeah. Because you can't use this as an excuse for every negative emotion that you experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but, definitely.
You know, they tend to amplify. So if you're a little bit angry, then you get like stark raving mad. And if you have a tendency for being a little bit melancholic, then you will feel like ready to jump out of the window. So if the retrieved soul piece comes in such an environment, it may just want to leave immediately again. So it's really, really important to get rid of the entities first before you start to empower yourself and put the good things back in. And another thing is the ancestors. We have positive and negative ancestors. So I'm going to talk about many, many topics, and we cannot go into any one of them in depth because we have shows on some of them already, right, Christie? Yes,
yeah, definitely.
But today I want to give you like an overview on how do I do this with a healing.
All right.
So the ancestors is a very important topic. You cannot skip them on your journey of healing, because if you don't have the full help of the ancestors, things are not going to go very well. And also in the later stages of spirituality, if you're on a spiritual path, things get really, really tough, and then you need to have every possible helper on your side that you can have, every ally that you can possibly have, because you will be up against a lot of negative forces also. And then, the negative ancestors need to be cleared first. There are methods of doing that. I've been taught a particular meditation for clearing the negative ancestors, which I can teach to people. Just takes a 1-hour tuition session and they can learn it. And then they can do this ritual several times if necessary until they cleared all the negative ancestors. And again, you have positive ancestors and you can work with them and they can help you, empower you, protect you, and get obstacles out of your way. But they are incapable of fully acting on your behalf while the negative ancestors are messing things up. So again, you got to deal with the negative first before you can have the positive.
Yes, that makes sense. All right, that's the fun part. And usually where we all quit, right? Can't I just go to some seminar and call myself enlightened? No, you can't.
People like to do that, just, book one session and every single problem in their life is solved forever and there never will be any more obstacles or difficulties.
Oh, goodness. All right. Okay, so getting to the I guess we're discussing the clearing stage, which is, I guess, the first part of our spiritual healing. So we want to ensure that we are entity-free. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Most people actually enjoy the clearing phase because, first of all, once something is cleared, they can feel immediately better, so they know it's really working.
Yeah.
And a lot of the clearing can be done by a shaman for somebody else. Say, for example, the entity removal. If people don't know how to do that, and it's really difficult doing it for yourself, even for me, I had to go through some quite extreme measures to get things out of myself whenever I had them. Yes, so if you can employ a shaman, and the shaman gets the entities out for yourself, and that is very acceptable for most people because all they have to do is pay for a session basically, and they can relax and have it done, and then they feel immediately better. So nobody's averse to having the entities removed.
No, and you're right. It is, the clearing stage is kind of fun, and it's also really empowering, at least in my experience. The little bit I've been able to work with you and have you teach me a few things. I mean, when you see that something is gone and it works, it gives you the confidence to move forward into, something maybe a little bit darker, something you were putting off before. So, yeah, very empowering, the clearing phase.
Yeah, and I mean, often the entities are keeping the people small and powerless. So when the entities are out, they come back to their original state, how they were meant to be by the Creator.
Okay, honey, hold on. We have to take a short break, but we will be right back. In the meantime, check out her website, sacredserpent.net. I've been posting some articles in the text chat at souljourneysradio.com, obstacles to healing and soul retrieval, things that we're talking about. So stay tuned, everyone. We will be right back. Shaman Avalon Sakti here on souljourneysradio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
No rules. No rules. No taboo topics. No taboo topics. No fear of doom. No fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back, and thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com with our special guest tonight, Shaman Avalon Sakti. Her website is sacredserpent.net, and we are talking about the stages of spiritual healing tonight. If you would like to join us for the text chat, that's over at souljourneysradio.com. And any questions or comments, please feel free to give us a call at 218-339-8525. That's 218-339-8525. And Sakti, we left off talking about entities in the first stage of spiritual healing. And let me ask you this. A question came up on the chat in regards to that. She asks, is it possible to clear out entities without ritual, say by dealing with emotional issues or other things that may be hiding them there? I know that you can starve an elemental that's attached to you when you smoke, but would we be able to do something along those lines for other entities?
Yeah, this is a mixed package. Certain things will kick them out, but it's not easy. If the Kundalini is very, very active, it gets rid of all entities. Until then, until in the later stages of the Kundalini you have them, sometimes during meditation some will come out. And if you're dealing with certain emotional issues, it might get them to the surface, but then you actually become more aware of them and they may bother you more, so that they basically ripe for removal, and then if you don't know what to do, things can be worse. But the tricky thing is when a major entity, a very large one, knows that it's very close to it being destroyed or taken out, it will usually try to trigger something in your life, some major event that messes everything up, so that you're falling into a dark hole and of despair usually, and then you will forget all about further spiritual practices for a few years, while the entity can thrive again.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, so it's not so easy. It's easier to remove them on somebody else. Like if you have two people who have got about the same level of, shamanic skills, it's easier for them to remove them on each other than each for themselves.
Okay. All right. You also mentioned curses, cord cutting, and negative karma. What type of cord cutting are we talking about here? We having a special event with a mayor or something? Dedicating a new city?
No, not exactly. And we're talking more like attachments to people that are either very negative, or that people in your past that you might be energetically connected. When you're having a relationship with somebody, that cords between the chakras form, and these connections energy flows, and then if you are leaving your ex-partner and years later there will be some connections intact where energy is flowing, and you can get remotely drained, even though that person may not do it consciously. But of course it's even worse if this is somebody who knew some form of dark magic and is intentionally constantly draining you.
Yeah.
And so it is always good to cut cords completely to any negative people from your past, and to any past partners that you're not having a relationship with anymore, or don't want to have one either. And people who disempowered you. You may also have to cut cords to certain association. If you, for example, joining a particular meditation circle and they are not really very positive, they're doing some nefarious things, and you find that out, it's not enough if you're just leaving or quitting the club membership. Mm-hmm. You have to really cut cords to the group spirit of that group, because that group spirit can be draining you as well.
Yes. Okay, and I think you mentioned partners, but I just want to make it clear for, and we talked about this more in depth in the past, but yes, sexual partners, cleansing, whether they're vampires or not, you're still, there's still that DNA mixing and connection there. Of course, much worse, as you mentioned, Shakti, if there is, some knowledge of black magic or things like that. But also I want to bring up things that we may be healing from our childhood. Childhood trauma, etc. Shakti did a healing for me, I think 3 years ago. And I had cords literally draining my sex chakra and my heart chakra that, here at 40 years old, I was thinking, I'm over all that stuff that happened, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. But it lives on. Those cords remain. So don't ignore that as well and just pawn it off to trauma and psychology and, getting over it type thing.
Even parents connect cords to the children. Even if your parents are nice and loving parents, your mother could be sometimes a bit manipulative. So in this case, you don't want to cut all cords with your mother. Never do that, Otherwise, your relationship with your mother is over and you got nothing to say to each other. But you want to,
and that might be okay too.
in rare cases. I don't normally advocate this. But, let's say you want to keep the heart chakra connection with your mother and the throat chakra because you have communication and you want to have this love energy, but you really don't need your mother attached to your power center, your solar plexus. So this is a cord that you can cut then your mother won't be able to manipulate you and drain you of power anymore, but you can still have a loving relationship with her. Mm-hmm. So this is the cord cutting. It basically gives you spiritual freedom, and it helps the other people also from whom you're cutting the cords, because it gives them freedom also. And if they negative people and vampires, well, then you're helping them indirectly, because they can't take energy from you anymore, so they have to learn to deal with their issues too.
Okay, yeah, and you're right. The well-meaning parent or grandparent, they might not realize that, with trying to impose their beliefs on you. I mean, they might care about you very deeply and love you very much, but it does sometimes result in a little suppression. So that as well. Very good point.
Yeah. So the cord cutting is something that's very important, and this is something that I'm teaching. There's a meditation that I call taking power back, but it's actually a complete energetic clearing between two people. And in that meditation, people can then take power back from people who disempowered them, but they can also cut cords, negative cords, and they can take soul pieces back that somebody might have stolen, or even give soul pieces back that somebody might have given you inadvertently, because that happens as well. We can get to that a little bit later. But anyway, yes, this meditation is extremely useful because you can clear the energies between you and other people that you have had negative interactions with, and it sets you free karmically, and also it clears your energy body so that it can actually then hold power if you want to work with Kundalini or build up spiritual power. Besides, if your energy body is leaking, your physical health will be affected too, so you won't be healthy.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And then curses, you briefly mentioned. And again, we did do a whole show about this in the past, but if you could briefly share with us a couple symptoms we may be experiencing if we have been affected by a curse.
Well, there are different curses. We had a show on the crossed conditions, where basically somebody crossed your name out and crossed you, but that can also come from other sources. You can have curses where certain areas of your life don't work out at all. Say your love life or your finances and job doesn't work, or sometimes it's your health or your spirituality seems to be cursed, that you don't get further on your spiritual path. Sometimes this is somebody in this life who was just spiteful and cursed you, and sometimes you have set up some bad karma, and very often I come across past life curses, that people have done something bad in a past life, and so now they're having a curse on them in this life. And this is often, sometimes it's karmically connected, and the particular thing that they did to the other person is the area of their life that doesn't work now. For example, I had somebody who kicked a beggar in a past life. Okay, then they break the leg, for example. Mm-hmm. Or somebody who sexually abused or raped somebody in a past life may experience sexual abuse in this life themselves, or then they are impotent, or they have problems with their fertility. So it goes. But it doesn't mean that everybody who had a sexual abuse was a rapist in a past life. Please don't overgeneralize it. Yeah. Just to give you a general idea. So in this case, the people have the entities out, and they still don't understand why their life isn't getting any better, because there's still something that has been overlooked. Now, if people are on an intense spiritual path and they do meditation and do true spiritual work, quite often you become aware of that. So you may be sitting in your meditation and suddenly you see the curse, or your spirit guides may tell you the reason why this isn't working yet is because you're having a curse and it's now time to clear that. And then they either get the method of how to clear that curse by their spirit guides or higher self, or they will be directed to somebody who can help them with the clearing.
Okay. Shakti, one of our listeners brought something up in the chat that it appears we all resonate with. So let me read this to you and get your response. I have also been experiencing this exact same symptom as he described. He says, I get a tight weight in my sternum, often like I can't breathe properly. It's not heart problems, it's not anxiety, but it feels like a block. I'm sure there's something trying desperately to keep me locked into this physical world. It's getting better as I work on it, but I've spent the past year or so cutting these negative cords. I know it's not anxiety, but it's like the thing is trying to keep me occupied with the body and not my developing spirituality. What could be causing that?
Actually, there could be a variety of things. Today I happened to remove a large entity from somebody that was lodged in the heart chakra and was actually intentionally blocking the spirituality and the kundalini. So that is a possibility that you're having an entity there. And then also there are 3 chakras which are locked, so they cannot open up prematurely for the flow of the kundalini. One is the base chakra, then the other one's the heart chakra, and the last one is the third eye. They have something which is called a granthi. The granthis are locks, basically. It's like a safety lock, so that you cannot have that power too early, and they open up with intense spiritual practices. They need to be really broken. So when the kundalini works its way to a certain chakra, and it cannot go further, then you can have pressure and pain there. That's another possibility. And he could also have an entity in the heart chakra or in the chest and lung area. That's also quite common.
Okay, when he said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's happening to me. And a couple other people in the chat mentioned the same thing. We've all been cleared medically, so yeah, there must be something else going on. Okay, it might be time to schedule another clearing with you, Shakti.
And also, I want to say heart chakra is actually the chakra where you become a human being. When you're only living from the lower chakras, you're still on the animal stage, even if you have a human body. So the heart chakra has some very tough lessons. It's the lessons of, unconditional love and universal love, basically loving not just other human beings, but the animals, the plants, the planet, and everything, Mm-hmm. So to open the lock in the heart chakra, one needs devotional practices. Without devotion, you cannot open the heart chakra up.
Okay, that makes sense. And now someone on the chat is asking, how does one clear this out if they have no one available to them?
Intense meditation over a long period of time will usually clear it automatically.
Okay. All right. That sounds like, and you said the connection, it usually helps me to go outside and ground myself, take my shoes off, fresh air, but it's still there. So anyways, this is something we're going to have to work on. Shakti, we have a caller on the line, so let's see what they have to add. Area code 347, welcome to the show. Oh, shoot. I'm so sorry.
Good evening.
That was really bad timing on my part. I am so sorry. We're going to a break right now, so hang on, honey. We will be right back, everyone. Stay tuned. Shaman Avalon Sakti here on SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Yo, what's up? Check this out. The voice of the revolution. American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
Welcome back, and thanks again for joining us here tonight with Shaman Avalon Sakti here on SoulJourneysRadio.com. The stages of spiritual healing is the topic tonight, and right before we went to break, I'm sorry I wasn't watching the clock, we went to our caller, area code 347, so welcome back, and thanks for your call. What do you have for us tonight?
Thank you very much, Christy.
You're welcome.
Good evening, Shaman. How can I refer to her? Miss Sakti? Hi, I'm calling because I would like Miss Sakti's point of view. Ever since I was a child, I mean, I'm a little bit nervous because this is like very hardcore. Ever since I was, I'm 31 now. When I was 3 years old, my mother left me alone for a few minutes while she went to visit her sister in the other side of the building. I'm here in New York City. Well, I woke up, something woke me up, and it was something just horrific was following me. I was running. Back in the days, we had these windows that had these chains that were greased. So when it was very easy to pull up, and I jumped out of the second floor window. When I fell, and nothing happened to me. But after that, I was having these horrible nightmares.
Okay.
Yes, my mother, I just feel, I'm 31 now, that my mother is being used these forces that are trying to attack me and destroy me are also using my mother to completely deplete me. I still live with her. I feel like I haven't been able to move forward in life. I feel stuck. Now, recently, I've been trying to go back into my ancestral traditions from Africa.
Excellent.
And it seems to me, yes, the Yoruba system from that came here through Cuba, the enslaved people from Nigeria to Cuba. And it seems to me that as soon as I started getting acquainted with this tradition, my mother has been degenerating, and not only that, her energy has become even more hostile towards me, to the point that I've gotten even physically sick.
Oh.
Yes,
Okay.
very ill.
We got a few
right now.
here.
Sorry, go ahead.
Do you want me to answer that first? And if you have another question,
Yes.
Might get a little complex. Now, the first thing what happened to you is you were attacked by entities when you were a child, and this is very, very common. I want to thank you for bringing this up, because I think this can help a lot of people when they hear this. It mostly happens before the child is 4 years old, because before the child is 4 years old, the aura is not yet completely closed, so the entities can get in. In many traditions, in many native traditions, indigenous traditions, the mother keeps the child very close to her, or there's always another member of the tribe near the child. So the child sits in the aura of the adults and it's protected. But if you leave the child alone in another room, like more than 10 meters away, it's not in the aura of the mother or father anymore, and it is completely unprotected, and these entities can get in. The first sign when the entities get in these situations is that the child will get terrible nightmares. In the nightmare phase, usually there's a struggle going on between the entities that are trying to steal a part of the soul of the child
Oh my God.
and the spirit of the child. And when the entities win, which is often the case, they take a piece of the soul of the child with them, usually somewhere in the demonic underworld. And so this is relatively simple to cure. So basically, one could do a soul retrieval and get that part of your soul that the entities stole back. And that would make a major difference. And we could also check whether there are any entities still inside of you. It's always good to clear those. And then your mother probably has some cords connecting you with her, through which she takes your energy, most likely from the solar plexus. So you need to do some cord cutting with your mother.
Yes, I would love to, but it seems so strong, this energy. It's very hard for me to, even when I've had the opportunity to move out, something happens that my mind just clouds and I can't get myself together to move out. So I end up spending the money on something that, something, stupid, ridiculous. I'm not clear.
Okay, when your mind suddenly clouds like this, then you're under some kind of mind control. Of course, it could be government mind control, but I doubt it. I would think that in this scenario, most likely it could be that you have entities inside of yourself, and these entities, as I said before, they don't like it when you do something to empower yourself. They want you to stay in a situation where you're disempowered or in emotional pain because they feed on that energy. So it could be your own entities. When they feel that you're going to move out and maybe empower yourself, they will stop you. And there's a lot of different possibilities. You might need help because it could also be negative ancestral spirits that keep you bound to your mother. That's another possibility.
Interesting. Now, I don't know if there's another call.
No, you're good.
Okay, yeah. All right. Once I was because part of the Cuban tradition, of the Yoruba Cuban tradition, they also have spiritists that they have merged into the tradition over the centuries, and they have these things called white tables, or misas in Spanish. There was a lady that told me that whenever I feel uncomfortable, to just make believe that there's this big person that's behind me, and just lean back, that there's someone that's trying to give me comfort. But then I went to someone else, and they told me that there's this dark entity, a male energy, that wants to teach me lessons so that I will become a man.
Well, I couldn't say which one it is now. I would only know if I start working on you and I see your energy field and I have you in my healing temple with my guides. Then we could look at it. But it's a possibility, because sometimes the thing we are running from is the thing that teaches us the greatest lesson. It's totally possible.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Say now. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you also. What I can say for sure is that as a child you were attacked by entities. That's quite clear.
There's no doubt about it, because it was just horrific. I mean, to the point that I jumped out of a window.
Wow.
I mean, there was something protecting me, because no scratch, nothing, and it was pretty high for my size. No, the doctors didn't believe that I fell out of the window, and I felt like the wind was rocking me.
Yeah, there were good spirits that helped you. Otherwise, it would have gone badly.
Yes. Wow. Well, thank you very much. Thank you a lot for your perspective. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and thanks for calling in and sharing that with us.
No problem. Thank you.
Good luck, hon.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Wow. Yeah, that's. I'm afraid that his story is not all too uncommon.
It's extremely common, Christie. Quite often when I do a soul retrieval and I ask to be led to the soul piece that is most important for the person to have back now, because many people have lost more than one, I end up getting a soul piece from early childhood that was stolen by entities quite often.
Yeah. Okay. It's Anyway, okay. I know we're going to try not to get too carried away with all the specifics on this, so we can move on to everything we wanted to cover tonight. And the stages, I think we pretty much covered the first stage, the clearing stage.
Pretty much. We can talk about the karmic things later, because negative karma is something that needs to be taken care of as well. And this happens quite often when I do healing on somebody, that I'm told that this problem is karmic, and then I'm going to have a look at what they've done in the past life.
Okay.
In rare cases, it can be in this life too, but often it's from past lives. And then once you know what they've done or what has gone wrong, then you can adjust, make karmic adjustments. There are remedies basically that can be done for most things, and I can ask what these remedies are in each specific case. But they are usually something along the lines, depending on what you've done. Like there was one woman who basically hurt a child, so the child ended up handicapped. So in this life, she can do some volunteer work with handicapped children, and that'll balance it out.
Okay, all right, good point. Thanks for bringing that up, but we have to take a short break again. When we come back, we'll talk about the next stage, the repair stage, dealing with your aura, damaged chakras, soul retrievals, etc. So stay tuned. We will be right back with Shaman Avalon Sakti here on SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
No rules, no rules. No taboo topics, no taboo topics. No fear of doom, no fear of doom. We are American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back. Top of the second hour here tonight. Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Shaman Avalon Sakti is our special guest tonight. SacredSerpent.net is the website. That's sacredserpent.net. And I know people are asking questions in the chat about some of your healing services. So again, I just want to say she can help you with these things we're talking about, clearings, soul retrievals, even her online tuition that will teach you how to do it so you don't have to keep running back to her. She doesn't have time to heal the world anyways. So, and really, I've shared with some of you in the chat. She's done such a wonderful job with me, and one of the comments is someone was saying that they felt like they should be able to do it themselves and kind of shied away from help. And I just want to say I totally understand that line of thought. However, my first experience with Sakti, there's things that we still don't know that are going on. So, a little helping hand here and there is wonderful while we're still learning all the possibilities. Who would have known, that you could have entities attached to you for 40, 50, 60 years and such. So, nothing wrong with getting a little help. And if you do choose to get help with soul retrieval or any of these issues we're talking about tonight, Sakti is the best. Hands down. She's just absolutely amazing, and I think it will do nothing but good for you or any of you considering seeking shamanic help. But we left off, let's see, we covered the first stage, and the second stage, Shakti, is the repair stage. So now that we've figured out that we had some cord cutting to do, perhaps maybe some curses or entities or ancestors to clear ourselves of, what next?
Yeah, well, quite often the entities damage the aura. While the aura can be damaged by many things, and the chakras can get very, very damaged if people have large entities. In some cases, they were totally trashed. So then it's very important to repair the aura. Otherwise, you soon got new entities, because with gaps and tears in the aura, you are very easy to attract things. And the repair stage and the clearing stage usually go hand in hand. You cannot just say, when I've cleared everything, then I start repairing. But quite often in one session, you take entities out, you find a damaged chakra, and you repair it. But I needed to put that in here so people understand it's not just taking the negativity out. The aura needs to be repaired, and that can only be repaired completely when the negative things are out. And then you want to also do soul retrieval, because when a piece of your soul leaves you, it takes a bit of your energy body with it. So you actually have a hole in the energy body. And if you go to, say, a normal aura healer or a Reiki healer, or you go to a crystal healer, they can close that bit in your aura, but it's going to open up again, because there is something permanently missing. So anything you do on it will be just like a band-aid, and it's not going to work for very long until that soul piece is back. So in the repair stage, we're also doing soul retrievals, because you need to become whole, and your personality has been shattered and parts of it are missing. So we need to bring these parts back so that you can be whole again. And again, the repair stage is also something that people like very much, you know. I've not heard anybody say, well, I really don't want my chakras to be repaired or my aura, and let the soul pieces stay out there. I don't want a soul retrieval. People are very keen on soul retrieval and having their aura repaired. The critical stage where the people don't like it anymore is when you come to the issues stage.
Okay.
That's where it's getting nasty. And depending on what problems people have, some things are just, some things are, the cat is up on the altar.
That's a no-no, honey.
Yeah, double hand clap means stop that immediately, and it usually works.
Right, good kitty.
Yeah, good boy. Right, so the issue stage is where people don't enjoy it anymore, and they often don't want to proceed there. And depending on what problem people have, when people come for spiritual healing, they usually have a problem. It can be on the physical side, it can be emotional side, it could be something that affects their mind, or they feel that they are under black magic attack, whatever it is. And some problems go away just with an entity removal. A lot of problems come from entities. So sometimes you have a physical problem, you take the entity out, and it's like a miraculous healing. Mm-hmm. I've actually taken an entity out of the dog of my veterinary.
Oh, wow.
That had very, very serious kidney problem. They said they didn't know what to do with him anymore, and they'd already seen alternative healers for the dog and couldn't get it sorted. I just pulled the entity out. It took me 2 minutes. The dog is totally fine. Mm-hmm. And this is just, you think that this is a miracle. No, it's not a miracle. It's because the dog really didn't have a kidney disease. The kidney disease was the expression of the entity that was blocking the kidney energy. So you remove the entity, the kidney energy normalizes, and the so-called kidney disease is gone. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that any kidney problem you can just solve by pulling an entity out, because somebody else has a kidney problem, or somebody else's dog has a kidney problem, and it has got nothing to do with entities. It's something completely different.
Yeah.
So some people come and you go through the clearing stage with them. You remove entities, cut cords, and repair their aura and their chakras, and they're completely okay. And other people, the problem still persists, and it persists because there are things that haven't been dealt with. And the next thing to look at usually is the issues and disempowerment. But that it's the issues usually and disempowerment. So there can be things keeping the problem in place, as we have already talked about in my show, Overcoming Obstacles to Healing. And sometimes you have to look at the ego here. That may be holding things in place. People might have to integrate their shadow. They might have negative patterns of being a victim or a martyr. And they might have limiting beliefs that don't allow them to heal. And they might have been programmed by society, religion, to act in a certain way, or even been programmed by, black ops. It's all possible. So these things are the next things to look at. Where does this problem come from, or what's holding the problem in place? There is like a whole load of things. Guilt and shame, for example. You might need to teach these people to let go and forgive themselves or others in some cases. And often these people are very, very disempowered. So taking power back is absolutely essential. We've already mentioned that a little bit earlier on. But this is the place where people, want to jump off the wagon. Because as soon as they hear that they have to do some real hard work themselves and look at their issues, they don't like that. Because that's not something where a healer can come in and deal with your ego, Christie. I can't deal with your ego. That'll be totally up to you.
Oh, come on. Just fix it for me. Wave your magic wand. I don't want to do any work. You're right. Yeah. That is where people give up usually. Physical health, spiritual health, the same thing. Because it is tough. It is tough to confront your ego and realize that, we may be causing some of these issues, and to realize that everything you think you know might not be so. And, so it's basically an unlearning stage, isn't it?
Yes, and also people don't want to admit that they have an ego. I've actually seen people walking out of workshops, not my workshops, but other people's workshops. As soon as the ego was mentioned, they actually left, or their eyes glazed over and they went into a kind of semi-conscious state, only to wake up when the ego topic was over and then say they wanted to leave. Yeah. I don't have an ego. That's all you. Yeah, that is actually the favorite message of ego is I don't exist. And then the people will say I have no ego, or they will say they've already dealt with it.
Yeah, I'm done.
I find it very, very amusing to watch this sometimes. I don't always comment. I let them play their little games. Yeah. I must say it's amusing when you're watching it, You can watch this in your daily life, the ego games that people play.
Well, we hear this a lot, especially, in like the alternative-minded communities such as this, where, well, I had a Kundalini awakening once, so I am already completely enlightened. I've already dealt with my ego. The only problems that remain are you and everyone else that doesn't think like me.
Yeah, generally the people who are completely enlightened, they don't advertise it much.
Exactly. Okay.
And you can also see that when people are so spiteful and nasty and they need everybody to admire them, then they are very insecure and they cannot really be so self-realized as they claim they are.
Yes. Yeah, I'm a rock star. Okay. So, Shakti, have you dealt with somebody either in a workshop or healing that gets stuck on the issue stage because they need to start, meeting or reintegrating their shadow, their ego, their negative patterns? I mean, maybe they do great at recognizing those things. Then they get to that phase and they just cannot release the programming. Then what?
This is quite common actually, and sometimes the people will want to book another healing and another healing and another healing, and I have to tell them there's no point at this point to do any healing. You need to deal with these things first. And then usually I get these messages when I'm working with my spirit guides and the goddesses that I'm working, and especially Isis, and they will tell me exactly like that these people need to do certain things. Sometimes they need to clear certain negative karma first, and sometimes there are beliefs that they need to let go, or they have to, for example, embrace magic. A lot of people are very afraid of magic because of things that happened to them in past lives, and also because of religious conditioning. But there are some situations where the only way to clear completely is through magic, because the problem's been created through black magic. So you need a counter remedy, which is the white magic. And magic is a lot more effective if you cast it yourself to heal yourself and help yourself than somebody else, because nobody is as interested in your own well-being than you are.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so I guess, like, what happens if we go through the work? I mean, we could have you or someone else or even ourselves, do the cord cutting, remove entities, but if we're not ready to deal with the ego and shadow integration, limiting beliefs and our negative patterns, I mean, is there any hope for us to heal ourselves spiritually?
Yeah, there's always hope, but you could have a terrible crash, because, for example, you see people who empower themselves and then they get some psychic powers or spiritual powers. If you haven't dealt with the ego, then you get very puffed up and you will want to boast with it, like you've just mentioned, yeah? And that's even described in some of the yoga and Vedic scriptures, that if you're starting to, with the Kundalini, you're starting to get powers, and then if you using these powers in a boastful way, you're going to lose them all. You're going to have a fall and a total crash. So then often you will see that these people experiencing, and I don't mean these people in a negative way, I mean the people who have this problem, they will experience like some kind of dark night of the soul or terrible crisis in their life, where they get completely broken down, and then you see that they haven't done the foundation work, because the foundation work is purification and building up character and inner strength. And if you don't have that, and you will have things thrown at you in the higher stages of spirituality to test whether you're really worthy to have that power, because you won't be given the ultimate power if the universe knows you're going to abuse it.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it almost seems like it can take you back to square one if you're not ready to give up those limiting beliefs. For example, following a certain religion can reattach you with entities, and you'll have even more entities and cords to cut later.
Can be.
Yeah,
you could even go back to square -1.
That's true.
And end up much worse than before you even started off. And then other people will say, hey, look at her or him. They've done all that spiritual stuff and now they're so messed up. Yeah, but that's because they didn't do it correctly. And
so how can we face our ego and our shadow in an effective manner? Can you share with us some stages within the stage, or tips real practical work that we can do to be honest with our ego and ourself?
Well, generally there's a few things to look out for the ego. The ego always wants to be special, so you can make a list of in which way you feel that you're special or better than other people. Most people would never admit that they think they are better, so special is the word. And very, very common is actually spiritual pride. So people think that they are better than others or special because they are more spiritual, and that is actually the absolutely most disastrous form of ego, because whatever ego is proud of is what gets destroyed. So if you think that you're spiritually higher than other people, you will definitely have a spiritual fall at some point.
Ah, that makes sense.
And lose all your spiritual power. If you think that you're more beautiful than others, well, maybe that beauty gets taken away. It's the thing that you're very proud of that usually gets taken away in the end. And ego is kind of self-sabotaging and destroys the very thing that you're proud of. Another thing about ego is that it won't accept any help. So, while I think that I totally respect when people say I don't want anybody to heal me, I can do it by myself. I like that too. But in some cases, it is just the ego speaking, because people don't want to accept help. And also, ego does not want to apologize when you've done something wrong.
Very good points. And that is a very fine line, ego and help and such. But I hear the music, so we'll talk about that when we come back. Stay tuned, everyone. Shaman Avalon Sakti. Her website is sacredserpent.net.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
Welcome to the world's meeting place. American.
It's practically narcotics.
Freedom.
Oh, yes. I like very much.
Radio.
You're an American institution.
American Freedom Radio.
All right, welcome back, and thanks for joining us here tonight with Shaman Avalon Sakti here on SoulJourneysRadio.com. We are discussing the stages of spiritual healing, and we are stuck on the issues stage. Imagine that. None of us have any issues here, though. It's just those others we're talking about. But, Sakti, you made some really good points about deciphering. Is that the ego, or is that, self-confidence? So let's discuss that fine line. How do you know when it's your ego saying, I don't want help, or if it's, just... a seeker who wants to just see if they can experience it or fix it on their own?
I think it depends on whether or not you have matured your ego yet, and most people haven't. And basically the ego can be different stages. In the early stage, in the child ego, the ego always thinks it doesn't get enough. So if you have issues that it's never enough, you never get enough love, enough attention, enough admiration, and so on, you are stuck in child ego. And the next stage of the ego is when the teenage ego is basically afraid not being good enough. So then you think that you're not smart enough, or maybe you don't have enough money, or your job isn't good enough. That's when you're still actually in teenage ego, even if you're 60 now.
Okay. All right.
And the next stage is that the ego is afraid of not growing fast enough. It's not time enough to learn it all, and you're not growing fast enough spiritually. That's the next stage. And then only when you come to the mature ego, then you have the feeling of being enough, but it is not a kind of conceited, arrogant, oh, I am enough. It's the knowledge to know that you are just who you are. I am who I am. And there's no arrogance there, but also no false humility.
Okay, let me ask you this. We have a listener who says that she has, you've helped her with ego maturity meditation. I can't find the exact message, but something like that.
Ego maturity.
Okay,
Yeah,
can you tell us about that?
Well, it takes like at least half an hour, can take an hour, depends. It's a process with the ego that you need to do, where you have to assess what your ego is actually up to. You have to play detective a bit. And you find that out by seeing what is your better thans, in which way your ego thinks you're special and your worth stands. And then you see whether it has already messed up your life with those topics. Then you can see, and once you understand, then you can start looking at how it has operated in your life in the last few years. And then you see where the ego is leading you, because quite often it is the exact opposite direction of where you would consciously want to go to. And then you also assess what stage your ego is in, as I said already. And once you know that, then there is an actual meditation where you can, with the help of your higher self, mature the ego. And this meditation can be done once a week. It's a short meditation. Once you know the foundation, how to do it, then you can do it by yourself every week, and you should be able to mature your ego quite a bit within 1 year.
Okay, all right. So is this something that's actually on your spiritual services website, or would we just send you an email and pay for like an online tuition and request that?
Yeah, that's it. It's just an online tuition, because I teach so many different things. It's just online tuition, and then you can tell me that you want to do the ego, and then we take it from there.
Okay, excellent. There's a couple questions in the chat. How about, here's this one first. If there is a specific pattern, like not being able to find inspiration to make money or to be independent financially, could that be some attachment keeping me from moving forward freely? I live with my mom, who has never even driven a car or been on her own ever.
It could be a kind of guilt of leaving mom behind, and then, she'll be all on her own and maybe she can't handle it. It could also be a fear of, being like your mother and you can't handle life on your own. Mm-hmm. Or, fear that you can't make it. So you have to do some real meditation there and some soul searching, what it is that keeps you back. It's most likely something within yourself that you're self-sabotaging.
Yeah. Okay, maybe some guilt, or, okay. Because that does keep, people in relationships they shouldn't stay in, whether they're love relationships, work relationships, friendships, families, etc. I mean, that's a big one. Okay, now the next question, he asks, what happens to someone that's suffering from complete soul loss?
Yeah, that's on my article in soul on soul loss and soul retrieval. Mm-hmm. If complete soul loss, people can die. They won't live long. So the fact that you can ask shows us that you haven't lost it completely.
Okay. So that's good news.
But generally, the more pieces of your soul you lose, the worse you're feeling, and people get very suicidal if they have lost major pieces of their soul, and their health deteriorates the more pieces of the soul are missing.
Okay.
Oh, I see that somebody sent me a blessing here in the Skype room.
Yes. May Odin bless her. Shakti is the coolest shaman on the planet, and I would have to say I agree with that 100%. Okay, so is there anything else you wanted to discuss in the issues stage?
Oh, the issues are so many, we could never just count them up. Issues are as many as, there are grains of sand on the beach, really. Mm-hmm. And we all got our very personal ones. So sometimes it's a resistance that we have. There is something that we won't let go of, that we need to let go of, or something that we just don't want to embrace. And on the spiritual journey, everything has to be embraced.
Yeah, that's true. And that's kind of hard. Okay.
And the shadow is also very important, because if you don't deal with your shadow, it comes back to bite you in the bum.
Now, how can we deal with the shadow? But more importantly, how do we even recognize it? Because most of us would, I don't have a shadow. There's no dark side. There's nothing wrong with me.
There are meditations that you can do to actually encounter your shadow. And we actually have a bright and a dark shadow. So it's not all dark. The bright shadow is basically those parts of you that you have pushed in the unconscious, and it may actually contain some very nice things. like certain talents. Maybe you have a talent to play musical instruments or to paint, for example, that you don't know, and you think that you're very bad at painting or music. And that is something that you have put into the bright shadow, and by integrating it, you can actually unlock these talents. And the so-called dark shadow contains the things that you have labeled as negative or evil, but it may not really be negative at all. They are all part of your total power and personality. For example, aggression and violence is labeled as evil by most people, as well as anger. But when you understand that anger can actually be necessary to tell other people not to tread on you and show them like to this point but no further,
yeah,
then you see that you do need the anger. Animals get angry too if you try to hurt their young or take their food away. But as soon as
the corner. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's right. As soon as the threatening situation is over, the animal doesn't walk around another 3 days angry, it calms down immediately. So the anger is only negative when you get stuck in it or when you let it out on somebody in the wrong way. Yeah. And, violence, of course, is not a nice thing, but there could be a situation where, for example, in order to protect the lives of your children, you would have to shoot a psychopath, say, for example. So if people say that I could never ever kill somebody, they're just really lying to themselves, because there are situations where really everybody can, even you don't like to, and you don't want to be in such a situation.
Yeah.
But when you understand that, yes, even I could be violent, I choose not to, but there could be situations where I might be violent, then that means you're integrating your shadow and you become whole. Otherwise, you're just into this false love and light and basically being a hypocrite.
Yeah. Okay, excellent. Now, Shakti, a couple people in the chat had mentioned that they believe they may be too empathic. And so one of them is asking, how do we tune down our empathic tendencies?
That's very difficult because I had the same problem. It gets a little bit better when you have a higher spiritual understanding, because if you see somebody suffering and you don't understand why, and you go into total pity for them, that's actually very disempowering for the recipient of the pity and also for the one who pities them. But you will have to find a way of not identifying with their suffering so much, and to understand what suffers is the body and the personality, but from a soul level, the soul is completely indestructible and it cannot be destroyed, even if this person is having a bad experience right now. So you try to see them in perfection as they were meant to be, rather than the broken people that you see right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It feels like a lot of us feel that way, but I mean, it is possible to kind of reel in your energies and not take others on as your own. But then there's that whole deciphering thing I've talked about in the past. How do we know if these are actually our energies or coming from someone else or somewhere else outside of us? But hey, practice makes perfect, right? Or practice makes better practicers.
You will learn to discern and to feel the difference between your own emotions and the ones that are projected from somebody else after a while. And I have very high degree of empathy, so for me it's very difficult sometimes to be with people, and I had to shut it down a bit, because I could feel not just individual people that were near me, but basically the whole creation is suffering at the moment, and it's very, very terrible.
Okay, honey, I'm looking at the clock, and we're kind of winding down on time here, so let's move on to the empowerment stage.
Exactly. The good comes last. Like it doesn't have to be the very last thing you do. You don't have to deal with every single issue before you can empower yourself. But, don't only empower yourself and not deal at all with your issues, otherwise it will go wrong. So the issues and the empowerment can kind of run parallel, as long as you don't overlook the dealing with the issues part. The very first thing that is usually done in shamanic healing is when you have somebody who needs healing, that whatever else is wrong with them, you give them a power animal. Because the power animal protects them from attacks from negative spirits, and it generally keeps them stronger and healthier. So when I take entities out, and if there is still time, because some people have so many entities, you can just remove entities for a whole session. Then I go power animal as well, and it tends to, reduce the reoccurrence of entities, and negativity can keep bad spirits away, and black magic as well to some extent. And then also you want to teach the people to take power back, because we all have been disempowered by countless people in our lives. Sometimes we gave power away, which you can do when you're listening to the advice of experts, and instead of using your own intuition and your better knowledge. Or, when you let people force you to do something that you didn't want. Also, if you have experienced violence or sexual abuse, then you've been disempowered by the people who committed these trespasses against you. And when people have manipulated you through guilt, such as your mother said, if you don't help me with the housework, I'm going to die young because of you. That's guilt manipulation, just as an example. So many ways. Or that you have to
attack because of you.
Or you have to sacrifice yourself for your country is another one,
Yes, the flag.
That's
Be a
right.
patriot. Come on.
It makes sense when you're really under attack, but otherwise, it's just helping the evil.
Definitely.
So these are different ways how you can be disempowered, and so we all have been disempowered by so many people. When I first made my list of people who disempowered me, I was sitting in a restaurant and waiting for my food, and I had 20 minutes time. I asked the waitress for a piece of paper to write it down, and boy, within these 20 minutes I had 39 people on my list. And
wow.
I was actually so shocked, because when I started the list, I thought it's a boring little affair, won't take me longer than 3 or 4 minutes, and I thought it could be 3 people, maybe 4, maybe 5, but not more than 5, and then I had 39. And, that was the initial list, because later on I remembered some other really horrible incidents, and so the list grew longer, and you basically have to take power back from every single person who took power from you, because through these negative interactions, they've sometimes taken parts of your energy body with them, and that means you will have holes in the aura that cannot close completely, and also they left negative energies with you, so you start to become like them, often becoming like the one that you despise, and you become less of yourself.
Okay, that makes sense, Shakti, but it is that time. We have to take a short break, so hang on, everyone. We will be right back. Shaman Avalon Sakti here on SoulJourneysRadio.com.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
News and information you can trust. This is American Freedom Radio. Freedom, American Freedom Radio. American Freedom Radio.
back. Thanks so much for joining us here tonight. Last segment, Soul Journeys Radio on AmericanFreedomRadio.com. Shaman Avalon Sakti has been explaining to us the stages of spiritual healing. Again, her website is sacredserpent.net, and go there not only for healing, but tons, just a wonderful reference and resource of articles, more in-depth articles of everything we've touched on tonight and in her past shows. By the way, speaking of past shows and future shows, she joins us the second Tuesday of every month. So you can check the calendar over at souljourneysradio.com, and all of her archives are there as well if you need further clarification. But here we are, last segment and last stage, which you did say that it doesn't necessarily have to be exactly this order. We can actually start the empowerment stage as we're starting the cleansing, right?
That's very true, Christy. You can do that as long as you don't skip the issues completely.
Yeah, don't. You must skip the issue stage for sure. And you know what? I do want to say that, at least in my experience, you can follow all the steps and think, oh, I'm done with that. But issues might pop up later. It's a never-ending cycle. It's not like a process that completely ends and you close the door and, you never have to look back again. This takes work and dedication. So it's not something you're going to be done with in a weekend or a month or even a year. It's a process.
Yes, Christy, and even the entities, you may clear them completely in the beginning so that nothing is visible anymore, that you can't detect any. And when you do certain deep work and you start clearing the issues, then you have entities rising up from the deeper layers of your being. They actually become activated. And then you think, what's wrong now? I'm getting worse. I'm having entities again. No, this is actually all very good. They're coming to the surface. And many times I have seen this happening. And when I was working on somebody and I asked, how come they're having these entities now? And I cleared them last time, what is going on? And I was told this is all very good. They've been doing some spiritual work, and the entities are getting ripe now and coming to the surface so they can be removed. So that's all part of the purification process that happens when you undertake serious spiritual work. Also with Kundalini, it really stirs up the entities that you might never have felt before, and then you think, what is going on in my life? It's like all hell has broken loose.
Yeah.
And you will see that things happen, that negative people come to you. Often these are people that have entities just when you're in the middle of a really deep spiritual process, or when your Kundalini is just going in a critical stage, and you just have to deal with it bit by bit. So it's important that in the beginning you purify yourself, you get rid of negativity, and you strengthen yourself spiritually, and you build up your character and your backbone, and you have an ethic foundation. It's really, really important that you have an ethic foundation, because if you have your principles and your discipline, that is going to be worth more than gold to you in the later stages.
Okay. Yeah, it's I totally agree with that. Now, Shakti, you mentioned power animals, and I know that is something that you help people with, finding their power animals or teaching them meditations to go into the underworld. Again, we've talked about that more in depth in past shows, but can you give us kind of a brief overview? Say, I want to know my power animal.
You can also go to your underworld and find it yourself. So this is something that people who like to do it themselves can very well do by themselves. If you know how to do shamanic journeying, you go in your underworld and you look for your power animal there. Of course, you have to put your preconceived notions aside, and generally to be 100% sure that you're not making it up or going by what ego wants you to believe. You should be seeing the first animal that you've seen 3 times. So you may see animal A, then you see animal B, then you see another animal. Now you see 3 different animals, then the first one pops up again, and then the third one, and the one that you see 3 times first is usually the power animal, and then you can also ask it whether it's your power animal, and ask it whether it has any advice for you for your life, because often they have some advice of something you need to change or something you need to do.
Okay, now Would that be the same for finding your spirit guides as well?
Well, you don't find your spirit guides in the underworld. You have to find the spirit guides in the upper world.
Okay. Uh-huh.
And so if people come and they say that they heard voices, and then somebody was in their room and they heard voices and they said, I am your spirit guide, I am your angel, I would have some serious doubts there, because this is not the way how you contact them.
Okay. Well, that's good to know, because, we hear often, getting back to maybe the issues phase, where I'm so special, the aliens told me I'm here to save the world, so you must follow me, and, I talked to God, or I talked to, whatever, such and such deity. I mean, if somebody's like forcing themselves on you, an entity, even if they're wearing a beautiful white dress and lace and gold and all of that, just because it looks good doesn't make it so.
Yeah, that is, we've talked about this before. There are a lot of deceptive entities on the earth plane at this time, and that's why, in the old times it was different. I think when people had a connection to nature, they might have had their spirit guides from early on and really been able to speak to them quite openly. But nowadays we have so many deceptive entities, it's very hard to know what is real and what is not. So if you're looking for your spirit guides in the correct places, then in the upper world, for example, you cannot get much negativity, because really negative beings cannot go to the higher realms because their vibration is just too dense and too low.
Oh, okay. Now, Shakti, I'd like to reserve the last, say, 2.5, 3 minutes to talk about sacred plants in our journey. But somebody was asking, let's see, on as far as the power animals, they asked, is it possible that your power animal is one you have seen very often in your dreams?
Very possible.
Okay, all right. Okay, so we've got about 3 minutes left. I'd love to talk about sacred plants during this time that may be able to help us through any of these stages we've discussed tonight.
The sacred plants can help you in many ways. They can also help you clear entities. Ayahuasca does, for example. And many of them are healer plants, so they can heal your physical body, and they can heal you spiritually as well, because they put right whatever is not okay with you spiritually, and then the physical diseases disappearing afterwards. And they also tell us what's wrong in our life, what is not aligned. They will actually show you your issues. Ayahuasca is very ruthless with that. It can really rub it in your face. And so they're basically addressing most of the issues that we have. Sometimes I've seen the ancestors, actually, when I was working with sacred plants, sometimes you meet higher beings or spirit guides that tell you things. It's just an amazing way of working with the sacred plants. So I am very saddened to know that, the dark forces on this planet are trying to ban all these plants and make it illegal to have them or use them. And I don't want to tell people to do something illegal, but if you can do it, if you can use really sacred plants in a sacred way, in a good environment with a qualified, really good shaman who's ethic, go for it and have the experience at least once, because it does open the mind. But I don't think smoking marijuana is necessarily a sacred plant. Ayahuasca is definitely one of my favorite ones, and that is absolutely fantastic. Unfortunately, being banned everywhere now, besides in the Amazon.
Wow. So basically, if it's illegal, it might be good for you.
Yeah, I have actually written a very, very long and detailed article on it, where I'm going into why this is being made illegal. And basically, these plants put you in touch with truth, and the dark forces don't want you to see through them and what's really going on. So they try to shut us off, because we are really all connected in a web of energy. all human beings and all the plants and all the animals, we're all connected. And this connection, when it's cut off, then people become cruel and do horrible and stupid things. And this has always been the agenda of the dark forces, to cut people off from their spirituality. They've done it with the witch hunt. They've done it with the various genocides of the nature people, such as the Native Americans. And they're doing it by cutting us off from the sacred plant and all remaining spirituality and natural healing now.
Absolutely. Now, Shakti, as in the power animals maybe coming to you in dreams, can it be the same thing in regards to sacred plants or powered plants? Is it possible that they can come to you in your dreams as well?
I have had a few dreams with plants. It's possible, yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I've had a few, and I'm like, what's this? I better go look it up and see if it exists. And then come to find out, it sure does exist, but of course it's banned. So anyways, that's the way it is, life on this planet at this time. But we can change it, and we are changing it just by having people like Shakti speak about these topics and share her knowledge. And, you know, we're living it. We're doing it. So, Shakti, thank you so much for being here tonight, and every month. Always a pleasure, and it was so good to be able to hear you on the show tonight as well. Woohoo! Party, everyone! Thank you all for joining us here tonight, and once again, her website is sacredserpent.net. That's sacredserpent.net. Abundant blessings and love to you all. We will see you tomorrow night. Soul Journeys Radio.
It's time to get real and heal. MyTrueEssence.net would like to tell you about Modifiland brown seaweed extract. It's composed of an elementally rich seaweed called laminaria. It takes 40 pounds of laminaria to make just 1 pound of Modifiland. There's nothing else like Modifiland. It is the richest in alginate, fucoidin, organic iodine, and lamarian. Alginates are the most effective organic element in nature that enable the body to rid itself of heavy metals, radioactive elements, and toxins. Fucoidin is an extremely effective anti-cancer substance found abundantly in brown seaweed. Organic iodine is the greatest protection for the thyroid offered by nature. Laminarin aids in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease. Go to www.mytrueessence.net and click the Modifiland banner to get started on your path to rich health today. Also check out the Healing Shop for proven essential oils, medicinal teas, and even health coaching. It's time to get real and heal. Go to www.mytrueessence.net.
Get real and heal. Listen to Christie on Soul Journeys Radio.
You're listening to the future of talk. American Freedom Radio. This is American Freedom Radio.